रोशनी जो किसी के काम आए, रोशनी जो किसी के काम आए, एक दिया ऐसा भी रास्ते में जलाए रखना। अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं आपकी होस्ट फरहत शुजात। आज मैं यहाँ पे हारून ख़ान साहब के यहाँ मौजूद हैं और यहाँ पे होने का मकसद सिर्फ ये है कि अपनी कम्युनिटी में जो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं अपने नेबरहुड में उस पर डिस्कस किया जाए। और हमारे साथ पील रीजन के पुलिस और बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो इस मौजू को लेकर यहाँ पर आए हैं और डिस्कस करेंगे, हम मीटिंग करेंगे और मैं जानूँगी कि इसका क्या हल है। तो हमारा एजेंडा यही है कि अपने प्रॉब्लम्स, अपने माशरती, अपने कम्युनिटी के जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उसको कैसे हल करते हैं। तो बज़्म शेर व अदब की तरफ से मैं आज आ कर के ये प्रोग्राम रिकॉर्ड कर रही हूँ और मैं ई आवाज़ टीवी की तरफ से यहाँ पे मौजूद हूँ और जानूँगी कि अपने कम्युनिटी के क्या मसाइल हैं।
I'm Brad Butt. I'm the City Councilor for Ward 11, City Mississauga, here to listen to the concerns of the community and see what we can be doing.
I'm Constable McKay with the Peel Regional Police. We're with the CERT unit in regards to the concerns of the community.
Acting Sergeant Harrison with Peel Regional Police as well. We'll be hear about the break-and enters that the community has been experiencing in this neighborhood and how our CERT division can help with that. So.
I'm Howard Heath. Been on the street for 20 years or more and had 1682 Cervantes. And so far, luckily, I haven't been involved in any of the fracas here, but I'm concerned on what's going on the street.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mustafa. We live at 1689 Cervantes, the corner home. We've been here since 2020, early 2020. For the last almost 5 years, we have not noticed anything of concern, except that our immediate neighbor had a kind of a couple who were more probably a drifter sort of people, and they kind of intruded in their backyard. And then when they were alerted, his name is Joe, and when Joe's wife alerted and she came out, both of them sort of jumped the fence and came into our backyard and then ran and jumped our fence and then onto the street. But that was, I think, 2 years back. So, I don't know, but nothing of concern happened ever since then. But this incident is obviously of concern. I was sent a video, but I thought that video was for this neighbor, but it wasn't. It was for something in Churchill Meadows. But things like this are happening now more frequently. So obviously we're here for that. Thanks.
Hi, folks.
I don't know.
My name is Michael Jazurnak. I live at 1670 Cervantes. We were victims in the spring of a break and enter, and hopefully we can get some action out of this.
Hi, my name is Josephine, a resident of the street, Cervantes. Just here for a, I guess, street meeting with regards to the petty thefts and crime that's happening recently, and just to see if we can figure out some solutions and get some help.
Hi, my name is Venera. I'm a resident of 1647. Just concerned what is going on lately in this neighborhood. That's all.
Hi, I'm Mohan, resident of 1600 Stancombe Crescent. We are fairly new to this neighborhood, about a year. We had a break-in 3 weeks ago when we were on holidays. Our son was upstairs, but I think this happened around early morning. And of course, police did come in around 4 o'clock in the morning to come knocking at the door. They did nab the culprits and got all of our stuff, but still was very, very concerning because a guy broke in, 2 people got into the house, and they were pretty much in the whole floor, opened up a lot of drawers in the kitchen, in the dining area and all that. So that's really concerning. We need to really see what we can do about to address this. Thank you.
I'm also Mohan. I'm Mohan's wife. I'm Radhika. So it's the same thing that I may reiterate. So the safety is a concern, and I'm just hoping as a team we can work towards a safer community.
आज मैं यहाँ पे जमा हुई हूँ। पील रीजन पुलिस यहाँ पे मौजूद है, नेबरहुड के तमाम लोग यहाँ पे हैं और हमारी मीटिंग है हारून खान साहब के यहाँ। मैं बज़्म शेर व अदब की तरफ से यहाँ पे मौजूद हूँ और जानूँगी कि यहाँ के क्या मसले मसाले हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स हैं। इन प्रॉब्लम्स को हल करने के लिए यहाँ पे इकट्ठे हुए हैं।
Hi, first of all, good morning, everybody. And my name is Shujat Ali. I'm also living in the neighborhood. I'm very thankful to Mr. Harun Khan, so he arranged this meeting. Yes, it is happening everywhere, but recently this is happening like in the house, someone coming and this and that. So we are here, all here to discuss all about this. So again, thank you very much, everybody.
Hi, good morning. My name is Hussein. I live in 1671 Sarmontes. I just moved in this neighborhood like March. Moved in here because it's a quiet neighborhood. It was unfortunate that, a couple of weeks back, they actually broke in my next door neighbor's house and the door was open. And they tried to break in my house, but I have like 8 cameras in my house, right? So they tried to break in too. They tried to open my main door, but they couldn't. Then they went to my side door and they had a camera, 2 sides, and they blocked my camera like this, and I captured the pictures, and they left, right? So hopefully we can resolve these issues. We want to live safely, right, in the neighborhood with kids and everyone. So thank you very much, Mr. Harun, to arranging this. Really appreciate it. There you go.
Hi, my name is Linda Murtis, and we've been residents on Sermontes about 21 years. The incident 3 weeks ago, those guys tried to get into our house as well, but we have a border collie, and he woke us up and let us know that these guys were in our neighbor's backyard by then. And the dog saved us from a car theft a couple of years back, too. So a dog's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm Liz's husband. We just live on the street.
Mr. Harun's direct neighbor. So they came to my house around 2 or 3:15, but I woke up. I kind of followed them around the whole house till they left the house, and I called Harun and Lex, our direct neighbor, to make sure that let's see where they do go, call the cops, and I guess at this point, I feel like it's inevitable, it's going to happen. We just got to work together to make sure that we stay safe, mainly for the kids.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm here in the neighborhood near Stancombe, on Stancombe, that is. We were affected. We were actually away on vacation, and our cameras caught them at our house. They were at our house for a good 8 minutes, trying every point of entry, everything from our basement to our upstairs porch to our front door. Fortunately, they weren't able to gain any access inside, but I guess it was just, being away and trying to contact police at the time was a bit of a challenge, but we managed to get through. So just here to hope that, we can all come together and all of us be more vigilant and look out for one another is my hope to preventing this from happening. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carla. Most of you probably have seen me post endlessly on our Old English Facebook group that thankfully was started by Morgan, so thank you for that, Morgan. I moved here, I live on Stancombe. I moved here about 4 years or so ago. And since moving in, shortly after, we started to experience a lot of criminal activity, mostly with our vehicles, which is now obviously escalated to break-and enters. And I believe I was one of the first that was able to contact 911 on Stancombe when it first happened, because an individual did come to my driveway, and I was alerted by the ring system that somebody was on the property, which was scary because my husband was away on vacation and I was home alone with a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. So that really kind of put the fear in me because, yeah, it was a big learning lessons in terms of security and what I need to do to upgrade a lot of things. But it's prompted me to be very vocal on our group, as well as talking to a bunch of neighbors. We're initiating a neighborhood watch in which a couple of us are getting together. If anybody's interested in learning more about that, please reach out. We have a meeting on Tuesday with Safe City Mississauga. So I'm really trying to work at just building a safer community for my little ones, right? It's a beautiful community. It's I'm told it has a history of being very safe, and so I want to keep it that way. We made a lot of noise when we had the car theft attempts and mischief going on. We were able to get some police patrolling the streets for a while, so maybe that's something we could look at doing it again. So thank you. Oh, and thank you to Mr. Khan for having us.
And I live on Stancombe, and I'm the original owner.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nina Tangri. I'm your MPP in this area. I live just a few minutes away from here, but I want to listen to everybody else before I say anything. So
Hi, my name is Ayman Golak. I'm also a original owner. We had our vehicles broken into in the past. This is the first time that someone actually tried to break into our house. And they also went through every single door. And never had, this area used to be really, really safe before. So hopefully we can try to protect each other.
I live on Stancombe. I've been there about 8 years with my wife Sophia and our 2 boys. We haven't really seen too much personally. I think our cars aren't quite up to the street standard, and they get left alone a little bit more than usual. But we're here as we're concerned as well, and we're going to join Carla, who's kind of our street leader, for the neighborhood watch as well. Thanks.
I guess I would. My name is Haroon, and I'm grateful to all of you that when we started this, and actually Nabil called me about 3:45, 10, 12 days ago. I saw my phone and I said, why is he calling? So he told me he had some people was trying to break his home. From the front door, they couldn't do it, so they went to next door neighbor, which is them here. Then they went to his back door. At that point, he flicked the lights on and off, and then they decided to run to their homes. And then he woke me up, and he called me. So I was very lucky. I called the cops, the police department, and my phone was answered in seconds. And she said, just give me 30 seconds. And within 30 seconds, the police cars were here. But then later on, I found out that it's not that I call and they come in 30 seconds, that they already were on the way when I called probably these people when they had the break-ins. The thing is, Sermontes and Old English Lane is supposed to be a very, very safe and very good neighborhood. This is my 22nd year on this street. We never had these things. And in fact, if you really look at the broad thing, we never had seen people breaking in the daytime in jewelry stores, in the malls, in the plazas, in the shop. I mean, this looks like a new face of Canada, and I'm very grateful to our Honorable Minister Tangri and Brad Butt, our councillors, but I don't know, I don't think they can do anything, but this doesn't look like a Canada we used to live. And everybody I talk to, number one, everybody blames Mr. Trudeau. I mean, she's not here yet, but everybody, and I tell them that Mr. Trudeau is not breaking people's home and is out of his hands. I'm a member of, I'm the ambassador of Peel Chief of Police, and I've been working with Toronto Police for over 36 years as a consultative committee member. So I've been going through all these things, but I have never ever seen what I'm seeing, and I'm sure all of you are seeing the same thing. It wasn't like that. And for the people who are coming in new in country, it's very hard to explain them that no, we are not like that, we were like that. And this news is going all over the world. And I have friends across, in Pakistan, India, here and there, Middle East. They are wondering what happened to this first-class country of the world. And I'm not sure if my friends, police officers, can answer. I know they are doing their best. In fact, I was with a meeting about 2 weeks ago with the chief, and I always ask him, Chief, what is happening? And he's trying his best. His team is trying his best. But what happened? Maybe the police officer can answer.
In terms of your direct neighborhood, it's nice to hear that you've already started doing some of the things that we were going to recommend today. Neighborhood watch is always a great idea. Meeting with the Safe City of Mississauga. I was actually, Andrew and myself were at a meeting about 2 months ago down at a neighborhood close to here, Ontario and Dundas, that was experiencing similar events to it. In terms of the concerns about the break-and-enters, I heard a few people mention that they realized that maybe their security systems weren't, sorry, I think it was maybe over here, that you realize that your security system might need upgrading or...
To add to that,
Yeah.
and this is my own learning experience, and I know we could go and shift it to like, well, what are we doing as victims that's wrong? I was home alone with my kids.
Yeah.
You get distracted by kids. I did a visual check on my door to see if it was locked, and when I called 911, the first thing she said, she's like, "Are your doors locked?" I'm like, "Of course they're locked," and I went and checked, and it actually wasn't.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that was a learning.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've installed, and now with the Ring system, what it does, you can set it that it auto locks.
Perfect.
If you don't do it, every
Yep.
30 minutes, it'll just lock the door for
Yep.
you. So that's
Yeah. So our recommendation is always to try and protect yourself the best you can. The police, we will always be there as fast as we can in 30 seconds or however long it takes us to get there. But in terms of what we call a break and enter in progress, that's like our highest priority is getting there quickly and making sure that the residents are safe. Unfortunately, we can't always be in the area when needed. Mississauga, especially 11 Division, our patrol area is from the lake to the 407 and from 9th Line to here, Ontario. That is quite a large patrol zone. What we can do is, so Andrew and I's team now, it's called CERT, the Community Intervention Response Team. So when issues in the community are brought up, one of our purviews or our mandate is to proactively address some of these issues. What we can do is we can start what we call a project on the neighborhood. You'll see increased patrols, whether it be in marked cruisers or unmarked vehicles, so you won't even know that we're here, and neither will bad guys if they are in the area. We often ask that you guys, I heard it a few times, and I love hearing it because I live in a very similar neighborhood in Brampton, and I've actually had someone try my door recently as well. So it's not just you guys, it's me as well. Thankfully, it was me home and not my wife, because I would have gotten a pretty anxious call from her as well. And doesn't make me feel good either, right? But I try and do the same things. We just installed a motion light at our house because we didn't have one before. Our porch is very dark. So it's like, even though I'm, I guess, a professional in this or like an expert, kind of, I still didn't protect myself the best I could, right? So you never know where they're gonna strike. It may be your neighborhood now, and it may be up the road in 2 months. In terms of the recent ones, I believe they're in November. I was just looking at some of the stats on the way over here. We did make arrests on one of the individuals. Andrew and I will look into the outstanding party for sure. And like I said, implementing this project would probably be on our kind of like #1 kind of task to do to help out here. We're up for suggestions if anyone thinks of how we can help out as well. But usually in terms of addressing these issues, that would be a step 1 for us.
With our Old English group, what I did was a very anecdotal data analysis. I don't have a data background, but I inputted all the information into AI to see what some of the trends were that we were seeing just based on what we report on our Facebook group. Because what's true is that what we report amongst each other, we're not reporting to the police. If we don't report it to the police, it's as if it doesn't happen, right? So based on the information just on the Facebook group, some of the trends that AI was able to gather was that we start to see an increase from September into the winter months. Some of the reasons apparently that happens is the nights are longer. it's colder, that means less people are outside. So that's something to consider going forward, right? One of the other trends was that obviously there is an increase in terms of the extremity of the criminal activity, whereas before we were seeing a lot of car mischief. Now we're starting to talk a lot about, okay, people are attempting at my house and actual break-ins. So what's bringing people and folks to want to break into our area? Again, systemic issues, obviously, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're an affluent neighborhood. People are going to want to rob where there's money. They're not going to go to, you know, a neighborhood that's struggling. But ultimately, I think it falls into our hands to do things like put in security measures, the cameras. We know the ring lights don't do anything. But there are other alternatives, such as setting outdoor sirens that you could put in with panic alarms within the house. You hit the alarm and it sirens outside. So that could alert your neighbors to say, hey, something nefarious is going on. Using your car alarms, panic buttons on the car alarms, you see somebody outside. I would suggest the Ring system is really good, and I hope I get like kind of a credit for mentioning Ring. But so what Ring system does is it allows you to set a parameter on your property within a certain amount of time, or within a time frame during the night. So one of the other trends that AI picked up was that a lot of these folks are coming between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. for some reason. I guess because, again, everybody's asleep, right? It's the witching hours. So you could set your systems to be, okay, from 2 to 6 a.m., a parameter, so anybody that enters it, and it could be as sensitive as picking up on a possum to a person, it dings you to say there's somebody on the property. So it's not just about having cameras, it's about having active cameras that are actually doing something to alert you and your neighbors. I don't know where I was going with this, but I just wanted to share those trends that we did see with AI, because I think it is useful to know when we could expect some of this activity to happen, and that it is increasing overall within the neighborhood, and that people do need to report. Because I remember when we were dealing with the car issues, one of the things that was highlighted was that our neighborhood, compared to, say, somewhere like Lorne Park, they get, I think at that time, an average 40 to 50 reports a month. We're averaging, and correct me if you know the numbers, but maybe 10. So I think it speaks volumes. The more, and it could be as small as like somebody's just try to open my car handle. Report it. Report it so that we get those numbers on there, so that there's a reason for police to come out here and patrol the neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
We are actually doing a project right now down in Lorne Park because they are so vocal. So just for your knowledge, we can only, if something happens and it's not reported, then there's not much we can do for that, right? We're not able to see the trends. A lot of how we disperse our resources is based on our crime statistics, which I did bring a few today. So since, So 2024 years to date, there's been 11 B&E calls for service, whether that was actual B&Es or suspicious people where someone thought someone was breaking in, or I believe there's a shed door that was open at one point. So those are the only reports that we have for your area. So 11, I don't know if there's been more, but that accounts for about 1% of our B&E calls like this year, right? Which for a neighborhood, in my opinion, is still like higher than it should be, but it's not probably high enough to really set off any alarm bells on our end. So,
obviously, it's. When Clara said about Lorne Park, obviously there are neighbors, there are neighborhoods already similar to us, similar to ours, who are having similar experiences over the years. My question to everybody is, what's the best practices in terms of the technology and the measures that we could take? One of the things that we could take is obviously, if I have an incident, if an intruder comes into my home, or somebody's trying to do a car theft on my drive, I should have on my phone a service where I just push a button, or my wife pushes a button, or my kid pushes a button, and immediately the 3 or 4 immediate neighbors kind of get a Amber Alert sort of thing, that kind of system. It's kind of a closed loop system. I think that could be implemented easily, and catching on to what, and that loud alarms, honking outside of your home, I don't know if that is a good thing or bad thing, but yeah. But the newspaper carriers don't come in 2 o'clock in the morning, do they? So if 2 o'clock in the morning somebody's there, I mean, it could be automatically triggered or triggered by the resident. But I don't know. I mean, these are the things that we need to address. I mean, technology, the point I'm trying to make is that we have to employ the technology to our benefit. There are things out there. I mean, we can use, there are best practices out there. Very cheap, very economical, very effective. Saying that instead of me trying to call a couple of people one by one, it's just that, yeah, exactly.
It's a group. When you hit that group, it calls everybody. It calls everybody, whoever is on.
Safe City, Mississauga will help you with a lot of that stuff when you meet.
But not now.
Yeah, so, and as far as it goes for sirens, so I have cameras that have sirens in them, ring ones. You can always set them off as go off when you hear any kind of thing, or you have the option of pressing it. So I have the option of pressing it. So if I see intruder, I have the option of pressing it to get the sirens off, so it won't go off all the time.
All right, so I'll just share. I just want to share a little bit about what our neighborhood has done. So we're just not far from here, near the hospital. So we've had a neighborhood watch for a few years now. And our WhatsApp group for the team leads it's fantastic. Every time we hear something from one of the neighbors, we put it up, we share that information, we share best practices. I've done 4 ride-alongs with the police since I was elected in 2018, and it's changed significantly since the first time I went until most recently. My neighbors who have been broken into are being broken into by people with guns. They are showing them their guns. So sirens may help. Do not confront anyone. Please don't come out to the house if you hear that someone's being, because the chances are you're putting yourselves in danger. It's frightening. They know better than I do. But our neighborhood watch has been very good. We've been very vigilant. If we see something, hear something, think something's happening, we're on it with each other. We don't do a call. We've never called everybody because it's a big group, but each of the street leads, we just got together last week, all of us, to talk about similar what you're talking about today. Get your neighborhood watch going, talk to each other, keep in touch. So each street lead will have all the contacts for their street, and they can pass on all of that information to each other. It works very, very well. I'm just going to take a little bit of a different angle as well. With Peel Police together and all of our police forces, we have been pushing the federal government. I think a lot of the break-and enters, a lot of the auto thefts, we've given dedicated funding to Peel Police and other police forces so that they can tackle these. They can have dedicated staff and officers that can tackle this as best possible, right? So, but we are calling on, a lot of the people who are committing these crimes are out on bail. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's where we are pushing the federal government to change with bail reform. I mean, these repeat offenders over and over again, they laugh at the police. They say, ha, 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 I'll be out before your next shift, right? And come on, this is not the society we want to live in, right? So we are trying to make those changes. They can only do what they can do and arrest them. And then if they're out again the next few hours later, not even the next day, it's very, very frustrating for everybody. And that's where I think a lot of the anger is coming from right now. And we can say Trudeau, Ford, all of this. But the fact of the matter is, it is one of the biggest problems. So that's a problem that we at the government level are trying to tackle, together with supporting our police forces as best we can. Peel Police are requesting 300 more officers. We are very supportive of that. So we're hoping that that budget will get passed so that we can do that, get them trained, get them on the streets. And hopefully that will make a big difference. But the Neighborhood Watch, as Safe City, are going through that with you. As you'll have a lot of trial and error, what works, what doesn't work. But just be active on there. Watch it, respond to each other. And you will see, on my camera, my doorbell camera, I have my neighbor across the street, clear in sight the person breaking into his house. And he had a gun, and he kept them in their room while he stole their jewelry and everything. So just imagine how frightening that is. That's what I'm just saying. Be very, very careful on what you do. I think the security system that you're talking about seems very good. And I think, yeah, being able to press a button if you know someone's trying to break in, I think that would scare them away. As I look through our neighborhood watch, when we send video footage to each other, these criminals, they have every single part of their body covered. You cannot tell, probably could tell if they're male, female, that's probably about it. You have no way of telling this. You can't see any skin whatsoever, what they look like. It's very difficult to identify them. So if they come to your house, maybe it's a different person that's come across the street and over there. It's very difficult unless they can find them with evidence of something that's stolen from your house, if you can actually know if that's the person who's broken into that particular home. So obviously we don't know how many people we're dealing, but I just want to give kudos to Peel Police, who've really stepped up, arrested a significant number of people that have been committing these crimes. So some of them are off the streets. Sadly, some of them are back on the streets. But as we move forward, hopefully we can keep a lot of them off the streets. Sorry for taking a lot of time.
I just want to, I don't eat this, but anyways, kind of old-fashioned, but my experience is my work experience. I worked for Toronto Police. I was a 911 dispatcher and supervisor. And so I kind of know the end with the dispatch end is to get people to houses and some of the processes. But what I want to tell people is just two things. One, know who your immediate neighbors are. Know what kind of vehicles they drive, know them. If they go on vacation, maybe you can share that so we can look after it. Just the immediate people on either side of you would make such a difference. The other thing is, you can call the police if you see something suspicious. They don't have to have their hand on your front door. If someone's walking down the street at 3:30 in the morning with their faces covered and they're going up and down driveways, you can call the police and say, there's something going on, like suspicious. And over the years, I have called the police, and they've come out and actually talked to people who are casing homes in broad daylight. And I knew those people just didn't fit in. So know your neighbors, suspicious activity, suspicious cars that move in the middle of the night, couple streets and do U-turns and face another way. You can call the police and say there's something suspicious. Just simple stuff, and then you won't believe the tech stuff.
रोशनी जो किसी के काम आए, रोशनी जो किसी के काम आए, एक दिया ऐसा भी रास्ते में जलाए रखना। अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं आपकी होस्ट फरहत शुजात। आज मैं यहाँ पे हारून ख़ान साहब के यहाँ मौजूद हैं और यहाँ पे होने का मकसद सिर्फ ये है कि अपनी कम्युनिटी में जो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं अपने नेबरहुड में उस पर डिस्कस किया जाए। और हमारे साथ पील रीजन के पुलिस और बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो इस मौजू को लेकर यहाँ पर आए हैं और डिस्कस करेंगे, हम मीटिंग करेंगे और मैं जानूँगी कि इसका क्या हल है। तो हमारा एजेंडा यही है कि अपने प्रॉब्लम्स, अपने माशरती, अपने कम्युनिटी के जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उसको कैसे हल करते हैं। तो बज़्म शेर व अदब की तरफ से मैं आज आ कर के ये प्रोग्राम रिकॉर्ड कर रही हूँ और मैं ई आवाज़ टीवी की तरफ से यहाँ पे मौजूद हूँ और जानूँगी कि अपने कम्युनिटी के क्या मसाइल हैं।
Good morning, everyone. MP Richie Valdez. Thank you so much for opening your doors and taking the time to bring us all together. I know Nina was just touching on a few important points, and I apologize if I missed some context, but I think it's important to have these conversations about safety. My team and I, we've heard from you, heard that, how you're feeling about the increase in crime, whether it's auto theft, whether it's not feeling safe in your homes. I really want to be here just to listen and take back this feedback with me. Nina's touched on a few important points already, but as far as federally what we're responsible for, she mentioned, I think when I came in, around tightening the bail reforms, and we are doing that. We have been able to put that in place. What I did was I brought out handouts so that the community can understand the difference between the responsibilities of different levels of government, federal versus provincial. We share different responsibilities, and I'm so appreciative that Peel Police is here we meet, the MPs in Mississauga, we meet with Peel Police every quarter, just so you're aware, to meet with them, to hear how we can work together to make things better and safer for Mississauga. I just want you to be aware that that's what we do on a regular basis. When it comes to tougher gun laws, we have done that, and you might have seen very recently we've added additional guns, assault-style weapons to the list of those that are illegal in this country. We know that's a really important thing for communities as well. Oh, louder. You want me to be louder? Usually I'm so loud, but okay. Yeah, sorry. I will try to project if that's fine. The other thing that we are doing also is we're boosting support for law enforcement. There are many different things in terms of federally, what we're really responsible for is ensuring that the province and the municipalities have the funds needed to be able to tackle safety. So case in point, the Guns and Gangs Fund, we implemented this. I was here in Mississauga when we did that. We provided all the provinces across Canada, including Ontario, $390 million. Building Safe Communities Fund, this is $250 million. Peel Region got $8.1 million. We federally are responsible for making sure that whether it's a city or the province, there's enough money. But at the end of the day, it's the province and the city that will implement the things that will help on the ground, because they're the folks on the ground to be able to implement this. But aside from all that, I have a lot of information with me today that you can take away with you. But the most important thing I can do at this point is really to hear from community members. And I do appreciate the best practice that you shared. I apologize I didn't get your name. But one of the things that I also recommend, in addition to what she said, was engaging with Safe City Mississauga. They're doing such remarkable work in each individual streets in Mississauga. I've seen it too. It's all about coming together, knowing, being alert, knowing who's in your neighborhood, whether that's being alert with, taking a look at who's your neighbor. Like, don't be afraid to get to know your neighbors. And I think that's the power of community, because then as soon as something is wrong, you can spot it out right away. But again,
I'm meeting with them on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. But again, look, I'm not going to just throw you a ton of information. I'm really here to listen. And I thank Brad and Nina for being here today as well.
Thanks, Madam Minister. But I'm talking to people, every day, and all these politicians, ministers are here. We are lucky that you have taken time out to be with us. The general consensus in the community is that our laws are not strong enough. The laws are just not there, the bail laws. I talk to police officers all the time. Their job is to catch a person. As soon as they catch a person, the next day he's out on bail, and then the next day. My brother was telling me that about when did that happen, that somebody had that thing in his foot, when you, and that guy robbed a bank, a store. How is that possible? So you still are in power, Liberal Party is still in power. What can we expect you to straighten the laws? The laws are very weak, especially when we have that 18-year business that, the underage cannot be charged and they cannot be put behind bars. And once they are 18, they are free to go. So I think those days when those 18-year-old laws were done, that was 100 years ago. That was a different world. That was not today's world. So I'm not sure all these, if I'm thinking right, that if we can change those laws to take that 18-year out, so people will understand, straight kid will understand. I got a call from a friend of mine, I know all kinds of people, but his son, 17 years of age, with 4 friends, they started robbing the people. He's telling me that they did that. Of course, he got caught and now is going to go through system. 17 years old. There's some kind of apps here where you presented yourself as a young girl. So he used to send messages to these guys, whatever is there, and these guys used to come to meet this girl. I'm sure you probably know all these, and then they used to rob these people. I just got a call about a week ago, and I'm amazed that this 17-year-old kid belongs to a good family, hardworking parents. So, but they know that once they cross the 18th age, they are clear. So bottom line, I think the laws needs to be changed either provincially by Minister Tangri or federally by you. This is the most concern, and I'm sure everybody probably will agree with that the laws are very loose. They were done 100 years ago. World was different. Today, it's a different Canada we are living in.
The court system, evidence collecting, timelines sometimes because it takes so long to collect evidence that they're let go. And I'm not blaming any one government or the police. This is a systemic problem that we really need to collectively work together to fix. And we are doing a lot of things together. However, I don't know when bail reform is going to be proclaimed. Once that's done, that will help a lot. It will help us in the province once the federal government finally proclaims that. And it will definitely help the police help keep those people behind bars. I'm telling you, they're out on bail and they're just going back again and again. And you talk about someone with the ankle bracelet. The ankle bracelet just allows, you know, them to be monitored. But yeah, they're allowed to go to a bank and take money out. But they're going to a bank to rob it again, right? So it's catch-22, literally, and it's very, very unfortunate. And a lot of them with those ankle bracelets actually are only allowed to stay at home, I believe. So they shouldn't even be out. But yeah, who's policing? Not the police necessarily, but who's policing those with that are monitoring with the ankle bracelets? And we've actually found a few people that have been able to take them off and then go commit a whole bunch of heists and crimes, and you know, it's frustrating and it's extremely sad to see our communities as we are today, and it means really strict action. Like we've now have a minister of auto theft and bail reform. That's his job, is strictly to do that, with the Solicitor General, who is working with all the police forces and everything, and the Attorney General that's trying to change the laws. And, you know, we're trying to do this as a big collective within our government in multi-ministries, but it's a huge push, and, you know, we're constantly talking to the federal government on how we can do it together. Richie's office and I, we work very closely together, working for all of our constituents in whatever way that we can. And, you know, crime comes up quite often on how we sort of try and solve a few things together. But, you know, police can only do with the tools that they have. We've put in a helicopter now well, it's not ready yet, but we've ordered a helicopter for Peel Police specifically. One of the areas I know that I think will make a bigger difference, we have drones, but I believe it's still a part-time. It's still only part-time group that has these drones. But I've seen them at work. I've seen them follow criminals literally running towards the police. It was actually quite funny. But, you know, they just stole a car. They all ran in different directions when the police came after them. They were going all over the place. And, you know, we actually watched them run back into the police. But I think there's a lot more they can do. I just want to touch on the guns part of it. The sad part is it's not the legal guns that are in this country. They're not the ones being used to commit the crimes. I would say 95 to 98% of them are illegal guns that have come across the border. It's not just that, you know, CBSA needs to do a much better job at the borders and as they're coming from the States. But there's other ways they're coming across the border. Drones, I mentioned drones. They're separating guns into different parts that they can, and each part is coming across the border, and it's not hard, and it's under the radar. So these crimes, and these guns are being rented out, what, $2,000 a day or something? And that's what they do. They just pass these same guns around that commit these crimes. It's a lot worse than you actually, because we do see it. It's worse than even we're thinking. But the best that we can do as a community is to keep ourselves as safe as possible right now and allow the police to do what they need to do to capture those who are committing these crimes.
So what happened? The question is, what suddenly happened in the last few years?
I don't know if I can answer that. It could be the fact that, you know, Mississauga is just, their population has just skyrocketed over the last number of years. Since Andrew and I started working, we've noticed a change, but am I able to give you a direct reason? Probably not for what happened. I think everyone watches the news and sees what goes on in our city and in our region. And I mean, auto theft is up by 543% this year, right? It's just, there's a lot of contributing factors. I'm not I don't have a reason why this is happening. We all know that organized crime has definitely contributed to this. That's what the auto theft rings, and I don't know if people have followed along with some of our larger projects that Peel Police have conducted over the last, I'd say, year in terms of illegal, guns, auto crime rings, all of this. It's just it's just increasing everywhere. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you, but with the additional funding that we've received and some of the additional resources that we've been able to acquire from that, we are trying to address it. But sometimes it feels like it's just a drop in the bucket at times, right? So.
And as well as bail reform as well, right? So we're arresting guys that are out on car theft charges, right? This is the third time, right? They're out doing the same thing. So is it the population growth? Sure. But also is it, these individuals that are out, right, and committing these crimes, right, over and over again, and no one's looking at the victims, right? And that's the main part, right? So I think, yeah, it's a lot of different factors that are playing a part here. So.
Down at a neighborhood at Hurontario and Dundas, and they're experiencing very similar things. We had the Safe Cities Mississauga come out. We did a walk through the neighborhood, just kind of picking out things that you might be able to address, whether it's trimming down your bush at the front of your house, just to provide more visual kind of whatever. So it's you guys aren't. This isn't an isolated incident. I would say like contributing factors that like we mentioned earlier is this is a very nice neighborhood. It draws people to it because it's Carla, right? Yeah. Carla mentioned someone who's doing a break and enter isn't going to go to maybe a government assisted housing project to try and break in looking for expensive things. It's just the nature of how these people pick their targets. One factor that I've found is being very close to ravines and green spaces is another contributing factor, right? These people are able to come in at the dead of night through the pathway along the river, whether they're hopping fences, so you might not even see them on your street. We find that neighborhoods in close proximity to green space, parks, railroad tracks, anywhere that someone can kind of get away without being seen is another factor. So I know we're kind of jumping from like systematic issues to your specific issue, and I've heard it mentioned quite a few times. Is bringing you guys together as a community and looking out for each other is probably like the best thing that could come from this meeting today, is that you guys are now able to create connections with each other, look out for the neighborhood. I think the gentleman who just walked away mentioned that he was away on vacation and he was a victim of a break and enter, right? If like we said, if we make those connections and it could be as easy as a quick text to your neighbor, hey, I'm gone for a week, right? Can you please keep an eye on my place? Set your lights to timers at night. Like, you don't want your house to be completely dark with no cars in the driveway. These are easy indicators for these people to be like, this is the best chance of me not being. The last thing they want to do is run into someone or be confronted. So they're going to pick their easiest option and the path of least resistance.
The park is, in my opinion, constantly filled with cars and constantly in our neighborhood, up and down the street. Like, a lot of us walk dogs. We all know who our neighbors are with walking dogs. But if you see something strange, and like Carla said, in some of the neighborhoods, people are phoning the police. We feel bad that we have to phone you, but we're concerned. And I know you're going to say, oh no, don't feel bad. But at the end of the day, if more people phone, more people express their opinions, I see something strange, I see 3 people sitting on my street, I've never seen this car before, you're going to have, a lot of people calling you. Does that give you an address to come down? If these criminals see, and I'm going to call them criminals or attempted criminals, if they happen to see more police cars in the neighborhood, it's going to deter them. And that's what we need. We need more presence, and that's where the funding is going to come in, to hire more police officers and more cars. Our park right now, the gate is open till whatever time. You know, I'm there at 7 in the morning, there are cars in the parking lot. I'm there at 10 o'clock at night, you know, the last little thing with the dog, there's cars and it's dark in that parking lot. So if the gates are closed, they'll still go in, but at least if they see police presence, and can you address a car that is just sitting there with 2 people, 1 people in there? Are you allowed to do that? You know, well, if you're allowed to do that, I know then that should be done more often, because there are this is our neighborhood, that's what I'm focusing on, not the rest of the country, the rest of the neighborhoods. I want to focus on our neighborhood. We all going to start to know each other. We're all going to have to vocal our opinion a lot more to the police officers. The more calls that are made to you, hopefully the more presence that will come down to our neighborhood to deter them, because if these people see that there are more police presence, that may pull them back. And yes, do everything you can on your neighborhood, your houses, your security systems, but, you know, vocal to everybody else. Talk to your neighbors, like Carla said and everyone else said. So if we do more of that, I think that's going to bring us back to the neighborhood that we had here 20 years ago, where it was a lot more safer. So that's what I'm trying to find out, is that will police come more often to help us?
When I called the police, they said, I said, it's been pried open. And they said, are the guns in there? I looked. I said, no, but the paperwork is. And eventually, city workers, and it was so big and so heavy looking, way bigger than this table. It must have taken a group of guys to carry it out of a vehicle and then break in for guns. But it was like, you know, the long rifles, all gone. And it was just lining the park for weeks. And I thought, what is that over there? So one day I went and had a look, and it was a stolen gun locker.
Whether that be in an a marked cruiser that we have out front, or we do have the capacity to be driving or operating unmarked vehicles, just so it's a little bit less. It won't be the visual deterrence, but it will give us a better idea of you know, if a party is casing your neighborhood and whatnot. In regards to I believe it was November 26th, there was a string of a break and enter and then other related calls regarding the same 2 culprits. One of those people were arrested with stolen property on them. I'm not sure if that victim is here or not, but they did have a wallet that we were able to trace back to the break and enter. Now there's still a culprit outstanding that will Andrew and my team will take a look at and try to identify. From that call, again, that was young people committing crimes. We'll be looking to maybe liaise with the neighborhood high schools, speaking to this person's faculty and seeing if there's anyone who they're known to hang out with goes to that school and trying to find that second individual. But in terms of that park, I'm not sure if anyone in the summer, we're actually, part of our core functions is riding the bicycles as well. And I'm not sure if anyone saw us this summer, but we were in that park a number of times and talking to people who were not doing, not acting. Yes, they were in the park. Now they weren't up to anything nefarious, but they definitely should have been doing what they're doing in the park. So we do go to the park. I know we're solely focused on this neighborhood at this time, but it's a common problem everywhere. At 11 p.m. that park, anyone who's within it, that park is closed, they're trespassing. We have the authority to go up to their cars. Now, do we? No. We have the authority to go up to them. So they're trespassing, right? So,
26 was a real crazy night for many people who
yep.
were awake and aware. They started on this entire section,
Mm-hmm.
not just Stancomb, but it started from Hollywell. Again, from stories that we've all shared with each other.
Yep.
It started on Stancomb and it circled all the way down to our street and maybe a few other little streets up and down here.
Okay.
That was a lot of houses that were addressed. And by the time the police finally did come, that was after 8 minutes of someone in a backyard, front yard, That took a long time. If they started at Hollywell and they focused all the way around from neighbor to neighbor to neighbor, so these two guys, or guy and girl, whoever they were addressing where can I get as quickly as possible. Knowing when, again, from just knowledge of speaking to people, when this happens, there's also another car somewhere, as we'll call it a getaway car. So there's not just 2 people, there may be 4 people, 6 people. So that's where, you know, like I said, if the police are in our neighborhood, and you're saying unmarked car, that's fine, unmarked car can do some things, but a police present car, that they actually can see this is the Peel Police in the neighborhood, they know that you guys are around more often, that is a deterrent, you know, and again, we're gonna do our deterrent in our neighborhood by making the lights go on, but actually the lights will help them see better when they're walking up and down. Oh, I can see now. No, I understand that.
The house is absolutely lit.
Well, you're
They don't
helping them.
care.
That's another
They see
side.
the cameras, they see the
And they don't seem to care. They don't
don't
seem to care because they know they're covered. They may also know that they're underage.
Yeah.
And if they're underage, then we know the system is going to just be letting them out as quickly as possible. And that takes it up to the higher level where the different government levels will have to do something to press them to keep them. But like I said, the reason I'm here is our neighborhood, our people, what's happening in this neighborhood. And my address right now was the park. And I'm going to suggest to everybody, if you see something suspicious, phone the police. You know, and again, I'm not saying 911, there's another number that you can address. Phone the police. The more people that phone you, the more times you're gonna go, oh my God, it's Stancomb again, oh, it's Hollywell again. Okay, let's get down there. Because like you said, you cover a big area. And I'm not sure how many police presence, are there 2, 3, 4, 5 cars working a night shift? Again.
No, oh my gosh, yeah, it would be quite, there's quite a few patrol zones, right? But on average in 11 Division, I could be off a little bit because I'm not part of a uniform patrol platoon anymore, but it would be close to 30 units, but even that's not enough most nights, right?
30, we hope they come to our neighborhood more often.
Yeah.
What can I do? Just be aware there are private investigators out there and they're in
That's
planes
also
and
a
stuff.
dangerous thing to do.
So,
you
but
know.
I don't suggest
It's
anyone
nice to be
do that.
vigilant and go in to see
But
people.
I've
address
taken
that.
photos of license plates, just in case. There was a BMW white 1 Series that was identified by many of my neighbors that we said looked suspicious. So we notified the police about that, and then one of my neighbors actually thought she saw it. It was a different car. The police ended up coming to what they thought was a break and enter, and it was a nightmare. I have video footage of what had happened. They ended up taking the homeowner, putting handcuffs on him. It was just horrible. So yeah, just be very, very careful. Be sure if you're saying there's a break and enter happening right now, you saw somebody going to someone's house, don't guess. Just be very, very careful. That could have turned out to be something.
Well, if they are trained people, if you could just get somebody from private security.
We thought about a patrolled car, private security patrolled car is something we're considering right now.
So I thought of this crazy idea, where one of the things, and I think what spooked the guy that was about to go to my house was, I think he saw the car for the newspaper drop-off. So then I started thinking, I'm like, if people want to purchase newspapers, you get movement on the street, right? They drop off between 2 and 5 in the morning. You get them as much as daily to weekly, and it's people floating around in cars, just dropping off newspapers that could potentially spook guys from wanting to go to the house.
I almost called the cops because I thought that it was a newspaper guy, and I'm like, who's this? Who's this? I'm like, I'm ready to go out, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to call. Oh, I was delivering the paper.
So I did a little bit of research in another similar neighborhood that's like Mississauga in Long Island, and how they responded to the rising in car theft. And it's interesting, like you guys have said, obviously it's the US, so gun ownership increased. But the other thing is that you guys are mentioning that light and having your lights on was not a deterrent. But they saw a rampant increase in something called a dog bark alarm. So when they come onto the property, it's not a light that goes off, but there's a very loud barking dog sound. That's actually deterring them more because they think that people actually have dogs. And while they'll approach, the assumption that there's a dog on property, and a vicious dog at that, actually deters them a lot more than what you see. The other thing, of course, is that Halton region and Durham region offer services for, they call it the security audit. So I don't think Peel offers that. It's like just exactly what you're saying. So it's a voluntary program that neighborhoods sign up to do. The wait list is quite a bit long, but it's like what Nabil mentioned, is that they'll send a team out to do an inspection of the property, like a walk around, to say, okay, here are your security deficiencies, and make recommendations to the homeowner on how to improve. They're not gonna actually implement anything for you. The onus is on you to then implement. But those are just two things that, as I don't live in Harun's my father-in-law, so I don't live in the neighborhood, but of course I'm concerned for his safety and everyone else is here. But I'm a Peel resident too. So that's a couple of things that people are doing locally on their own in other neighborhoods. So the interesting thing is, what we're seeing here has been happening in the US in more affluent neighborhoods for a while now. So the thought was, look and see how those people are responding and what has actually been effective in working, right? So those are a couple of things that, the dog bark alarm was actually really funny, but apparently it's been, the company did a ton of business right after COVID because that's what they were seeing, right? So
I think the only reason I haven't been broken into.
Just
is
one
because I do have
question,
dogs.
since Mr. Bradford is here, represents some lights in the park because everybody is having problem with the park, dark park. I don't know what will it take for you to take our suggestion to the city officials.
Well, I'm happy to talk to our staff in the Parks Department to have them come out and look at the lighting and see whether it needs to be upgraded or improved in some way. That's certainly something we can do.
There's no lights, so it's not a matter of upgrading, they have to install some lights so that in the dark, it will not be a
Yeah,
dark.
we don't light all parks though, right? Like, we don't have lighting in every single park
I
across the
understand that,
city.
but since
There are
we-
standards for where we have lighting or not.
Yeah.
All I can say is I can go back and
Please do
discuss
that.
it. If there's any activity going on in the park though, please call 311. Our corporate security guys will come out and they will look. They have the responsibility to come out. The police can come too, you can call police too if you think there's something suspicious, but really, you really need to report it to 311. If you think there's a regular group of people that are, continually at the park, you don't know who they are, whatever, our corporate security guys. If they're there at 11:01 PM, call 311 because they're not permitted to be in the park after 11 PM. No one's permitted to be in the parks those times.
I don't know what suspicious kind of looks like. I
Just
guess,
phone 311.
Because people, they're in their cars and they're just sitting there, which I would imagine you have the right to do. But could they be suspicious or whatever? So I don't know if anyone has like an example of what they've kind of seen as suspicious and they've not really reported it. We need to kind of learn from each other as to what that kind of looks like of what suspicious is, right?
Sometimes in that park, there'll be a car parked there, and other cars will come in, drive up, the two drivers side by side, and then they peel off 2 minutes later. Then another car comes in beside, so,
Yeah.
I know what.
Community. So, and as Carla mentioned, this is kind of like in a good neighborhood, and a lot of nice cars are sitting on the driveways, right? I'm scared, my car is outside, now I'm just renewing my garage so I can start parking my car inside,
That's what we can do.
right? So, why don't you do this, if everyone agrees, Harun is the leader, then we can probably, if that gentleman suggested, we can probably hire a guy who can stroll all night long, and we can start pitching in monies, right, everyone, right? So
Even if not all night long, but that's just one round or twice round.
a couple rounds, because the cart that takes like 12 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Boom, they're just gone, right?
So there's a lot. You'd have to hire a third-party management to deal with everyone, making sure that they're making their payments.
Yeah, I get
And
that,
Yeah,
The
it's
logistics
just
part
not
is-
feasible.
logistics.
I'm Brad Budd. I'm the counselor for Ward 11 in the city of Mississauga, and I'm very pleased that I was able to join residents in the Cermontes Drive and related street areas today to talk about community safety and crime prevention. There's lots that homeowners and communities can do to make their neighborhoods safer, and certainly we know some of the basics, right? If you've got a car, park it in the garage, lock your doors. At nighttime, keep lights on at your home. Make sure you don't have a obstructions in the way that allow potential criminals to hide themselves. Make sure there's no easy way of getting away from your property. Make sure you've got perhaps a fence in the rear of your property that would block somebody in, not just open in the back where they can run off with whatever perhaps they've been able to steal. I'm really pleased to hear that the neighborhood is going to be meeting with Safe City Mississauga. That is our crime prevention association here in the city. It's funded by the City of Mississauga and the Region of Peel to provide support services to homeowners. And one of the things Safe City will do with the neighborhood is they'll do a walk through of the neighborhood. It's called a crime prevention through environmental design audit. And they'll walk all the streets and they'll look and they'll take notes and they'll come up with things that can be done to improve community safety in a neighborhood. I've participated in a number of these in other communities in my ward, and it really will make a big difference. I'm glad Peel Regional Police was here. They've heard the importance of perhaps a little bit more surveillance of this particular neighborhood, given some of the activities that have happened lately. And we need our police to be doing that and being proactive where they can in neighborhoods and in communities. So I think we accomplished a lot today. I think I'm very pleased with the turnout. It shows that people care, they want to be engaged, and I think there's a lot more we can do to make this an even safer community for everybody that lives here.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Nina Tangri. I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament here in Mississauga Streetsville and the Associate Minister of Small Business for the Government of Ontario. And I just want to thank Haroon Khan and his family for opening their home to all of the neighbours and to all of us to listen to the concerns of the entire neighbourhood about the break and enters, the auto theft that's happening in the community. It's very disturbing as we're seeing many communities being hit by break and enters, and sometimes the people, the perpetrators are actually armed. So it's very, very frightening. So from a government perspective, all governments working together and the communities working together, we need to take more action, need to be more vigilant, look to see if we feel that our homes are being watched by people looking perhaps to come back and break into the homes. But there's so many steps that need to be taken as far as the Government of Ontario. We're working with the federal government on bail reform because we're finding that many of the perpetrators are out on bail and they just repeat offenders over and over again. But also we are purchasing a helicopter so that we can help catch many of these perpetrators from the sky, because it's sometimes a little easier than a police car chasing a vehicle. But there's also many other measures that we're taking. We're adding hopefully another 300 officers in Peel Police so that we can have more officers patrolling our streets. And that is the biggest ask I found in all of our communities. They want to see the visibility of Peel Police on their streets, especially throughout the night. And we feel that that will be a huge deterrent, I believe so too, to stopping many, many of these break and enters. But I really want to appreciate all of the neighbours that have come out today to voice their concerns, and Peel Police, the federal government, provincial government and local government collectively here to listen. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning everyone. MP Richie Valdez, the local Member of Parliament here. Thank you to Haroon Khan and his family for opening the doors. As Nina has already mentioned, today we covered a lot of ground as far as the dialogue that the community members shared, whether that's them not feeling safe in their homes, whether that's the increase that they're seeing in auto theft or crime right in their neighborhood. Everyone shared the genuine concern. Even my office, we do get phone calls, and I've met with constituents that are genuinely scared. They're not feeling very safe these days. And I think it's important for us to come together as a community and work together with all levels of government. We've put forward funding, whether it's guns and gangs violence, that's going to different provinces across Canada to help combat this, or the Building Safer Communities Fund, which is going directly to municipalities so that they can help determine what the best ways is or the approaches to help tackle these challenges. I think a constituent had told me just now that she didn't realize, she felt less alone. She didn't realize she was not the only one that was feeling this way, that she was surprised at how many people came out today. So I think everyone is feeling more positive in terms of feeling like, okay, like we're going to take this more seriously. Community members today shared that they're going to actually share numbers, they're going to get to know their neighbors, and I think that's what it's all about. It's really about building community together, and I'm really happy that Peel Police was here today to also share some best practices of what's working well, what's not working well, but I think coming together is the most important thing. So again, thank you, Haroon Khan and family, for hosting us today. I think we need to continue to have these types of conversations. I know I've had my takeaways. I will certainly take that back with me to Ottawa and then continue working with MPP Nina Tangri and, of course, Councillor Brad Butt to help continue to tackle these issues. Thank you so much for everything today.
Thank you very much, Haroon Khan Sahab. Thank you very much, Haroon Khan Sahab.
I'm thankful to all the neighbors who decided to come on my invitation, and I'm grateful to two ministers. It is very unusual that the two federal and provincial ministers comes to a function like that, plus Mr. Bradford. And I'm sure these ministers will take our messages to their proper government departments, and something will happen, because I just cannot understand that we in Canada, we in Toronto, and we in Mississauga is supposed to be one of the best places to live. We are meeting to resolve this matter. Something gone wrong, but I'm sure with all these ministers, we have the police officers, something will be done. And I mean, these things has to come to a stop. 500 cars get lost from Peel every month. This is an amazing, amazing number. We don't expect that to happen here, but I think God only knows. But I'm glad that these officials are with us, and something will definitely will happen. And thank you very much for you and Bhabhi here, to Farid Bhabhi and you, to be here to cover this story. And I'm sure when this story will go on air, people will know that these things can happen, and our politicians are standing side by side on any problems we have. This is a message they should get. Thank you. आज हमारे घर के ऊपर एक मीटिंग थी जो नेबरहुड वॉच था, क्योंकि यहाँ पर मैं सरमोंटीज़ पर रहता हूँ, तो हमारे यहाँ काफ़ी एरिया में चोरियाँ हुई पिछले 10-15 दिन के अंदर. तो मैंने नेबरहुड से कहा, उन्होंने कहा कि वो मिलना चाहते हैं, और उसके साथ ही मैंने फेडरल और प्रोविंशियल मिनिस्टर को कहा कि हमारे घर में मीटिंग है, और ब्रैड बट जो हमारे काउंसलर हैं और ई आवाज़ की टीम ने इस प्रोग्राम को आकर कवर किया. और मैं आरिफा मुजफ्फर साहिबा का और ई आवाज़ की टीम का बहुत ज़्यादा शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि उन्होंने, ये रियल कम्युनिटी का प्रोग्राम था, ये कोई फंक्शन नहीं था, कोई बड़ा चीज़ नहीं था, ये घर का प्रोग्राम था. लेकिन यहाँ के जो नेबर्स आए वो काफ़ी इसकी तस्वीर लेकर गए हैं. ये जो बैनर लगा हुआ था कि हम इस प्रोग्राम को सुनेंगे, ज़्यादातर तो सब लोकल गोरे लोग हैं, लेकिन उन्होंने मुझसे ख़ास तौर से कहा हमने इसकी तस्वीर ले ली और हम इस प्रोग्राम को सुनेंगे, देखेंगे कि ये क्या रेडियो है. तो भाभी तो खैर, आरिफा भाभी तो हमेशा मुझे सपोर्ट करती हैं, मेरे कोई भी काम होते हैं, शी ऑलवेज देयर. और इसी तरह से आप लोग जो हैं यहाँ पर आते हैं. तो अब ये है कि अब देखना ये है कि इसकी जो आज मीटिंग हुई है इसके असरात क्या होते हैं. लेकिन मुझे जो पुलिस वाले आए हुए थे उन्होंने मुझे ये कहा है कि आज की मीटिंग से ये असर ज़रूर होगा कि हमारी सड़क के ऊपर पुलिस प्रेजेंस ज़्यादा हो जाएगी, और ये चोरी चकारी के जो मसले चल रहे हैं कम से कम हमारी सड़क हमारे नेबरहुड में कम हो जाएंगे. तो वंस अगेन ई आवाज़ टीवी और आरिफा भाभी और उनकी टीम का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक यू.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम. मैं एक मरतबा फिर जी जनाब, तो बहुत खूबसूरत प्रोग्राम था. हारून खान साहब के घर पे हम लोग मौजूद थे, और ये हमारी अपनी कम्युनिटी का प्रोग्राम था. और सब ने अपने अपने प्रॉब्लम्स, मसले मसाइल शेयर किया. और पुलिस पूल रीजन के तमाम लोग थे, और सब लोगों ने बताया कि इसका क्या हल निकलना चाहिए. और मैं यहाँ पे मौजूद थी 770 ई आवाज़ बज़ में शेर व अदब की तरफ से. यास्मीन आ गई, उनका बहुत शुक्रिया. आरफा मुजफ्फर, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप अपनी कम्युनिटी की हेल्पर हैं, और ऐसी स्ट्रॉन्ग कहूँगी कि लेडी हैं कि आप हमेशा हर कदम से कदम मिलाकर चलने वाली और सबको सपोर्ट भी करती हैं. तो मैं अगेन आप सबका बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ. ई आवाज़ टीवी का भी शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ. बज़ में शेर व अदब देखते रहिए और अपनी राय से भी आगाह कीजिएगा कि आपको ये प्रोग्राम कैसा लगता है. फरहा शुजात को इजाज़त दीजिए. अल्लाह हाफिज़.